Good morning, good morning. It's Sunday morning. Happy Easter. And it's Monica Hayward from Life is Art. And it is Sunday morning, the fourth day of the What's Cookin' crop. And so I am popping on this morning to do a little technique video with you guys and to show you something that's new to me, but it's not new. It's been around for quite a while, and it's called Retiform. And the word Retiform kind of describes a net-like structure. And so it's kind of a fun way of using ink and creating some texture and some interesting movement on your paper. So I'm going to show you in a small version here. We're going to make a card front, and I'm going to be using two different colors of ink, which is a nice way to do this method, and they're similar colors. So I'm going to be using Smoothie and Scarlet for this project. So Smoothie is my light color, Scarlet is my darker color. So I'm going to start with the Smoothie, and I'm going to be using a mini ink blending tool to work with this. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Mom. Hey, Debbie. Nice to see you. Happy Easter. And Robin, good morning. Nice to see you all popping on this morning. And so you need to be able to partition your paper off. Some people do it with washi tape. Some people do it with adhesive panel tape stuff. I'm just going to be using cardstock to make my design. And I'm going to use washi tape to hold it down to my my all-purpose mat, because I have found doing this with washi tape, it sometimes leaves a tapey residue, and that interferes with what we're doing with the ink. So to avoid that, I'm just going to cover areas on my card with other cardstock. So has anybody who's watching ever done Retiform on a card or on a layout, or knows what it is or has seen it done? Just let me know in the comments. Sorry about that. My phone is making noise at me. I'm just going to see if I can turn that off so we don't have to hear that anymore. It's not new. It's old. So you may have seen it done. And if you have, you'll know what I'm about to do. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of make sections on my paper. This is very similar to what you do in kids' crafts, where you take a canvas or a piece of paper and you put tape all over it and they paint in different sections. It's similar to that idea. So that gives you sort of an image in your mind of... Robin says, I missed what you said. My hubby made me laugh. So we're doing a retiform, and retiform means something that's a net-like structure. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a piece of paper on the diagonal. It doesn't matter what shape you create, but generally you end up with sort of triangular shapes when you're done. So I'm just going to put my paper kind of diagonally across like that, and then I'm going to add another one here that kind of goes to the corner. Now, because I'm using cardstock for this, it's a little bit thick, and I'm just using random washi tape to hold it down so that it doesn't shift around on me. Because of the thickness of the paper that I'm using, I'm not putting it right on the point. I'm backing it off a bit, because if you've ever inked on top of cardstock, on top of another piece of cardstock, you know it's going to leave a little white edge. It's not going to fill right to where you put it. So let's grab our Smoothie ink, and this is the same technique that you use anytime you're using one of these foam blending tools. If you have a brush or a domed one, it's a little bit less tricky. Now I'm kind of going to be working behind myself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some ink on my foam, and then I'm going to start inking just along this edge here. Now, of course, you can't see it very well because it's white on white, but once I start inking, you'll see it. And I'm going to start on my cardstock or on the edge of my all-purpose mat. And again, you start going in circular motion before you hit. You kind of tip your blending tool away from the area you're working so you don't get a big circle in the center here. So I'm just going to start and do some blending all along this sort of bottom edge of this triangle, or what is the bottom edge to me. And I'm just adding ink. You can add as much or as little ink as you want, and after you've seen the process, you'll kind of have an idea of how much you would maybe want to add. And then I'm just going to add a tiny little bit of ink around the other edges. Just to say that we did. And of course I've now shifted. So I'm going to say we're done. Once it shifts, that's it. We're done that section. Okay. So now we're going to pick these pieces up, and you can see what's happening now with the ink. It's created that little triangular space there. And let me just lift that up so you can see a little better. So it's kind of made a shadow outline of this triangular space. So let's go ahead and do the rest of the page. I'm going to put that back as best I can. You know what sometimes is helpful is to put a little bit of adhesive on. You know what? Maybe I better not. It might interfere with the inking. I don't want to have a piece of adhesive shaped blotch in the middle of my project. That would be silly. Okay, let's stick that one back down. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to cover where I just inked, but I'm going to leave a tiny little bit of it showing like that. Because, like I said, we're going to have that sort of ledge effect happening with the cardstock. And I'm going to move this washi tape so that it's not touching my bottom paper. Yes. So now I'm going to ink from this side first, off of the all-purpose mat onto my card, just like this. Because this is now our bottom edge of this section. So I'm also going to hold on to that base page, make sure it doesn't move around on me. And we'll just go around adding ink to that particular section. And we want to add more ink on the bottom edge than anywhere else. But then once we're done that, we can go ahead and add a little bit of ink to the other two edges. Just like a touch, a blush of ink. Okay? And then we're going to move these again. So we're going to be creating little triangles. And the other reason I'm making sure my washi tape doesn't touch my base is that it could tear the paper, because this is sturdy-ish washi tape. Okay, so now I'm going to create another line kind of like this at the top. And let me see, we'll do maybe one going from where this one ended here up to there, like that. And again, I'm going to hold it, give it a little bit of pressure here so we don't move our base. And then we're going to start on this line, and we're going to be doing inking. So Robin says she's never done it. Mary says it's new to her. Good morning, Leanne. Good morning, Shauna. Woo, everybody's up bright and early on a Sunday, Easter morning. Only one other person in my house besides me is up right now, and that's Julia. And you guys were in competition with her because she wanted me to play Mario Kart with her instead of coming in here and doing this. All right, so we've added some ink there on our bottom, and now we're going to go ahead and add a little smidge of just a touch of ink around the other sides, just to give it that little bit of glow. And now I'm going to move this one, but not the bottom one. I'm going to leave that one there. And I'm going to put this one over like this. Create another triangle. Now, I also have to cover up this part. So, bring in another piece of paper. And again, we're leaving a little bit of that other ink showing so that we don't end up with weird white strips in the middle. We want ink everywhere, no white strips. Robin was up since 8. Usually up at... Oh, you got to sleep in. Awesome. That's the way to do it on a Sunday. Sleep in a little bit. So now we're going to concentrate our ink on this long bottom line here. So we'll start down here, again holding tight to our card underneath. And really it's once you get the idea of what's happening, you can do this on just about anything. It's really kind of a fun technique, and I think you could probably easily do it with kids. And basically it means your whole card is done with just a piece of paper and some ink. So it's a very economical way to make a card, although it takes a little bit of time, but you know, we don't make cards and paper crafting because it saves us time necessarily. We do it because we enjoy it. So there we go. We've added a little blush around the other two edges. So now we can move this one. Oops. This this washi tape is very sturdy. Whew. That's why we're keeping it off to the edge. Okay, now we've got one more triangle here underneath here. So let's add this cardstock back here like this. Again, doing a bit of overlap onto the other areas. I'm going to have to move my washi tape just a smidge. I didn't line that end up very well. Got to get it off to the side. And we'll cover this part back up as well, leaving a little bit of that edge. Doesn't matter if it gets a little bit more ink on it because it's already got the heaviest amount of ink. All right, so again, we're going to start with this bottom edge and start adding our ink just like that. If you have the little finger daubers, when you're doing these kinds of small areas, I think that would work great. I think the little blending brushes would work great as well. But it's not going too bad with the big foams. It's okay. Well, this is the mini one. I wouldn't use the standard size, the rectangles. That would be difficult. All right, so we've got that, and now we're going to give just a little bit of ink around the other two sides, just to say we did. We like the color. All right, one more section to go. And that is this upper area here. So let's just take all of these off. And we'll be done with those. Now you can save those if you're going to make more than one of these. Absolutely save them. They're not worn out yet. And let's line that up like that. And this one's easy because we're going off onto the all-purpose mat. So again, we're going to go along this long bottom line, just like that. And I leaned my foam the wrong way. Got a little bit too much there, but that's okay. We'll just blend it all in. All the way across, and then we'll add a little bit around the edges as well. Just like that. Maybe a little bit more in that corner. I mean, you could fuss about this all day, but we don't want to be all here all day watching me play with ink. Well, maybe we do, but I'm sure you have other things and other projects you want to get to. Okay, so now we've got this cool net-like, web-like, it almost looks like shards of glass, like you've broken a mirror type of effect happening. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different segments in our thing that's happening here. So now what I want to do is I want to bring in some stamps because everything's better with stamps. And so that's what's going to add the decoration on here. Oh, Shad is sending me messages and she realized she wasn't quite up when she sent it. That's okay. We're totally up with that. Okay. So now another handy tool to have in your craft stash is Post-it notes. They work really well for masking and all sorts of things. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to do some masking. And so we're just going to block off this bottom portion here. Just like that. so that we can do some stamping, but that our stamping won't affect the areas around, because we want to make it look like these are all separate spots, okay? And so let me grab, I think, this one. I've got this cute leaf design from that stamp set, and that's the Daisy Meadows scrapbooking stamp set that I'm using, and it has all these really fun florals and leaves, and it's got a butterfly and some sayings. So this is a fun kind of stamp set to use for this technique, because you need a lot of sort of varied sizes and shapes to make it look interesting. So let's start with this leaf, and I'm actually going to ink these now, getting rid of the smoothie and bringing in the scarlet, which is the darker color. And it's nice to have the two different tones to create this effect. So let's ink up our little leaf branch here. And I'm just going to begin, and this is one of these techniques where you have to stamp off the side. You don't want to put it right in the middle or it really will not work. So let's stamp it right here. And on this particular spot, we've got it going off of two sides. We've got it going off the edge and off of this section over here. And because this is a bigger section, I'm actually going to stamp it twice. So let's just add another little stamp there. And in fact, I might stamp it a third time just to fill in that little gap in the corner. Okay, and then we move on. So now we're done with that stamp. Let's move our little barricades here, our masks, and you can see the kind of effect that this is going to create. It's really kind of cool. Now, because this, I just put this ink down, I don't want to then stick this adhesive right here. So I'm going to move up here to the top and mask off this upper part. Of course, my head is probably in the camera right now as I speak, because I'm leaning over looking where I'm going. And of course, it's long, so I have to add a couple pieces, but that's okay. And then let's see, what are we going to add here? How about this biggest floral? And so I just going to kind of look at it and decide how I want it. I think maybe, it's kind of got an upside and a downside. I think maybe like that. So let's ink this up and put it right like that. So I'm actually going off on three sides with this one. Now I don't have foam underneath here. If I was using really detail-y things, I would probably want foam under there, but I didn't put it under there. No excuse, I just didn't put it under there. So let's move this masking now, and you can see that stamp peeking up there. And where are we going now? Okay, well, let's move down here now. I think our ink has probably had time to set okay. And this time when you're adding the masking, you really want to be right on the line. You don't want, because this is thin masking type paper, so you don't need to worry about the halo effect. In fact, you don't want you don't want it going in the other sections at all. All right, so let's grab, this is a nice little small area, so let's grab these little two florals here, just like that, and let's have them kind of growing up from the bottom like that, and you can stamp it again. We can stamp it more than once. So let's just add another stamped image there. And I'm kind of pushing down quite a bit because I want to make sure that it stamps okay even without the foam. And there we go. How are we liking this? I'm so into this, I'm not paying much attention to your comments. Sorry about that. I'm just off in my own little world creating stuff over here. How's it looking? Do you guys like what's happening here? Are you envisioning stamp sets that you have that you think would look really cool in this using this technique? I think it's really, really cute. All right, let's grab this other little floral here. It's a single flower. Oops, I got my block upside down. Oh, Robin and Leanne, Nancy. Okay, so you guys are liking this. Awesome. All right, let's mask off this part here. And I'm probably going to have to use a third sticky note to get this one all masked off. Oh, I didn't do that one very straight. I'm going to turn my paper on you. See if I can get it a little straighter. This is one where it helps to be kind of precise because the effect will look better when you've got these lines just covered just right. I'm going to take a bit of the stick off on that one. And there we go. Okay, put it back upright. Okay, so let's ink this up. I also like the monochrome look of this. Yeah, Shauna, it is a bit of work, but you know what? Once you get used to the technique, it probably wouldn't be quite as labor intensive. You'd probably kind of get into a rhythm of it. So I'm just going to stamp maybe three bits of this stamp here, like that. All right. Really, it's just lining up the masking. That's kind of what takes the time. But if you think about the fact we're not fussy cutting anything, that will be the indicator of of how much time it takes. Okay, let's mask off this big area here next. Does anybody else use sticky notes for masking in their craft room? I forget who showed me how to do this, but it was awesome. When they told me, I was like, perfect. You know, when you've stamped an image and you want to mask part of it, you just cut it out off of the sticky note and away you go. Works so well. Okay, let's pick our next image. I'm thinking maybe this little leaf here. Let's do this little leaf. Grab this other ink block or stamping block and ink that up. And we'll kind of have some leaves coming out of the corner here. Just like that. I haven't tried it with this little leaf stamp, so I'm not sure how it's going to look when I'm done. That was a very silent moment. I had to concentrate. Yeah, that's not too bad. Sometimes you don't know when it's hidden under the mask. You're like, I don't know what's happening under there. All right, last one. And I think this one, maybe we'll do the butterfly. I know, Shauna, you like butterflies, so let's get a butterfly in here. All right. So this one will need to mask it up good because the butterfly is a big image. And we can have it coming off the edge. One more. There we go. Make sure they're all sticking down good enough. Okay, butterfly. Here's the butterfly. Everything's better with a butterfly. I think it'll even fit on this block. Excellent. All right, how do we want to do it? Maybe, yes. Maybe, yes. That's a good indicator. We got it. We got our thought process right. So here's our little butterfly. Just like that. And there's our card front. All finished. Let me lift it up so you can take a closer look. So you can see we've got all our little sections there. We've divided it up. We've got a little different pattern in each one. We could have even added a little something, you know, a little edge of a flower for the butterfly to be landing on, but I'm okay with that because we are going to add a sentiment as well. So let's move those out of the way and let's grab our card base. We can't make a card without making the card. And I'm just going to give my all-purpose mat a little wipe because we've got some ink here and there. Just like that. And bring in my mat so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. That'll probably relieve some of the glare. I find there's a lot of glare coming off of the all-purpose mat. Okay, so we've got our card base. We're just going to fold it with the bump side in like that. And I've cut a smoothie colored mat for our card. So this was cut at basically about 1/8 less than the size of the card base. So our card bases are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Some of the backing didn't come off that. Oh well. So it's just 1/8 smaller than that. So let's see if I can get that lined up. Nope, not quite. It's just a hair of the white showing. There we go. And then we can attach this on top of that. I think that's going to look pretty nice. Now, there's different ways you could add your sentiment to this. So I had thought I could do heat embossing with gold on here, which would be pretty fabulous, and whatnot. But I decided, because this was going to take a while, that I would do a simpler way of adding the sentiment. And so I've just got a piece of white daisy, and I'm going to bring this in. I'm going to bring in a piece of my masking that I've been using here, because I only want one word from the sentiment that's on this stamp here. I want just spring. Instead of spring is in the air, I don't want it to cover up so much of my page. So I'm just going to take that off the carrier sheet, grab my stamp block, and put that on there. And I'm going to use the Scarlet to stamp this as well, the darker one. And I really only need to ink up the word spring. So let's make sure we're getting good ink on there, but we have the mask here just in case. So let's see if I can get this. There we go. Like that. Nice. And if we were going to be fancy, we could always ink around the edges of that. So why don't we do that? We'll add a little something. How about a little dovetail? Let's do that. Just like that on the end. Nice. Little ink around the edges. Why not? Everything else on the page has ink on it. Let's add a little more. All right, so anybody think, yeah, this is cool, I'm going to give it a try? How are you guys feeling about this technique? Retiform. If you look up Retiform on YouTube or anything like that, you'll probably find some more examples. You may also find medical looking things, because it's a way of describing certain rashes and and whatnot. So, you know, you gotta you take your chances when you put that in there. Now I'm just trying to decide where's the best spot to put this, and I think I may want to put it right up there. Sometimes I put it at the bottom, but I like it up there for this one, because I can still see all the fun patterns. So look at that. Now you could just put a little bit of bling on there, and you have a beautiful card front made, and that is using a Retiform technique and making like cell-like structure on your card. And it's really fun. It gives a lot of dynamic movement to your card, and I hope you enjoyed that. So have a great morning. Take a look at the new challenges, and there'll be another game coming up shortly. And have a great day. We'll see you at 1 o'clock for Chat and Craft. All right, talk to you later. Bye.